You're listening to Dr. Emma and me on the Tudors Dynasty and Beyond podcast. And now, here are your hosts.
Hello and welcome back to the show. I'm Rebecca Larson, joined again by my bestest friend in the whole world, Dr. Emma. Welcome.
Hi, Rebecca. How are you?
I'm good, because you know what day it is, right?
Yeah, it's Parallel Lives Day.
Oh, I was going to say it's Thirsty Thursday.
Thirsty Thursday. I have a reputation now. And online and offline. I've had the offline one for years. So, I mean, you're just getting caught up, guys.
That's right. I love Thursdays, as you know, because it's our Parallel Lives Day. And last week we talked about two of Henry VIII's queens, which actually was a very popular, highly downloaded episode. Yeah, we talked about
maybe because we talked about the very famous Catherine Parr.
Sorry.
And who was the other one?
I know, it was like it was his second wife. I think I don't remember what her name is.
Anne, I think. Anne? Was it Anne? Anne Boleyn? Yes.
I can't even stop laughing about it. You have like a straight face. You're trying to be serious. And I'm like, really? I can't.
Well, you know what? I am so glad that we're being listened by even Anne Boleyn fans, because I did get a very, very long comment on that episode. I just want to say everybody knows what my stance is. I think I'm doing a good job because I don't think you hear a lot of the other side, right?
Right.
This is all, let's say, a faction in court. I'm just talking about the other faction. It's not what I think, first of all. And in general terms, I would like to say, if I ever come across as offensive, if somebody would like to point out specific something, I would always be happy to take back anything offensive. I'm not trying to be offensive at all. But in the sense of talking about Anne Boleyn and her intentions and all that, I think I'm doing a great job because I don't hear this side of the story a lot. I hear the other side of the story way too much. I'm tired of it. So it's time for us to, like we say in Spanish, dar la vuelta a la tortilla, which means is flip the omelet to the other side, people. It's okay. And I think it's a healthy debate too, We can have opposing views and yet talk about it and be respectful with each other. So thank you for that very long comment. I think it was James something. Thank you, James.
I don't know how I try to remember the names. I don't have them in front of me, but a longtime listener also commented and said something like, I think they wanted to challenge both of us, to not talk about Catherine of Aragon or Thomas Seymour in an episode.
Now that is a good comment to make. Thank you for that. That would be a challenge for me. You guys wouldn't know that. But it's very difficult. Today's not going to be possible, I'm afraid, because we are going to talk about people related. This is how, even Anne Boleyn comes up a lot in other episodes. It's just, Mary I and the tool, of course, Henry VIII. So it's just difficult, when you're talking about certain, and because I specialize in Catherine of Aragon, obviously the connections I come up usually are connected to her, obviously. Yeah. I'm obsessed with this woman and have been for the most part of now 15 years.
Yeah.
So,
well, and
that's my life, guys.
I'm clearly obsessed with Thomas Seymour. I've been researching him for almost 10 years. And I decided recently that I'm never going to finish this book because
never say never.
No, I'm never going to. I am not a writer like that. I think I am more of a short form writer, and I always have been. And so I recognize that, but I still want to get my research out. So I finally reactivated my Substack.
Oh,
and
nice.
I'm going to be using my Substack, the paid subscription portion of it, to release my research and my writing of what I have written already on the book, and then what I will in the future. So if you don't already follow me.
How is that going to look like for a subscriber? What does that look like? Is it posts? Is it, what is it?
Yeah. So if you're not familiar with Substack, it's kind of another way to have your own website, but it's also kind of like a social media because you can have a feed as well. But I'm right now just kind of using it as a website. So every Monday I'm posting free content to talk about research. And like the most recent one, I talked about paleography and learning paleography and why it's important to transcribe.
Fundamental, yes.
Yeah. And then on Wednesday, I think it's the prologue of my book that's going to be coming out.
Ooh.
So that'll be on the 22nd. Of course, we're recording before that, but
So, someone who wants to subscribe just needs to go to your website and find it there.
they can just go to any of my social media and I'll have a
Okay.
link to my Substack there. Otherwise, it's rebeccalarson.substack.com and they can find it. And it's
Okay.
$5 a month for basically a post every Wednesday. So I think it's a pretty good deal.
It's a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
And who doesn't want to know more about all that research you've done for over 10 years
Yeah.
and finally tell us about more about his beard, how he used to groom it, take care of it. But and this is very honest. He was an ambassador. We talk about this a lot offline, how he was an ambassador, lots of connections to the court of Mary of Hungary. So anyone
Yeah.
that the imperial courts and the Habsburg. So anyone who is researching that is going to need this content. Anyone researching people like Lavina Turnlake will need this because there's mentions to pictures, and he has a close relationship to power. So,
Yeah.
oh, congratulations! I'm excited for
Yeah.
you.
Now I just got to get you signed up for a Substack.
You know what? I think you got me on board. Is as people may have noticed, Dr. Emma has a few things on her plate. So I'm just trying to first of all honor all of my commitments. That's very important to me. Make deadlines, and it's complicated. But yes, I agree that there needs to be more of my content, written content out there.
Hmm.
So maybe Rebecca can teach me how to do that. I'm an elder millennial. I'm adaptable. I pretend I don't know, but then I'll pick it up pretty quick, I'm
I
sure.
love it. I'm a Gen Xer. I'm older than you.
Wow, just about older than me, guys. She just pretends to be older than me.
Anyway, enough about us, right?
Enough about us. Who wants to know about us?
Right. Nobody.
Some people
Nobody.
do. I've seen comments too about us too in these episodes we do. But anyway, we're gonna do parallel lives. We're gonna do parallel lives.
Yes. So because of your enthusiasm with last week's episode with the two queens of Henry VIII, we
Yeah.
decided
The
this
really
week
famous one, Catherine Parr, and the other one,
and that
yes.
other one, the side note.
Sorry,
Anyway,
guys, I'm never going to give in to.
we joke.
Yeah,
But
we joke. Come on.
I told you that I thought, it was so popular. And then you had mentioned, hey, maybe we should do one on another wife. And you mentioned
Right, right.
Anne of
Exactly.
Cleves.
After I propose 50 different Spanish names that Rebecca will never remember again, ever. She just listens there like whatever. No, it's just a joke. Since we listen and you guys like the lives of the wives, which makes sense to us, we thought of choosing another wife and someone related to the Spanish monarchy, not quite Spanish, but yes, in that sphere, because of the connections to this idea that she could have become a wife
Yes.
too. The seventh wife. Well, she wouldn't have been the seventh, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
She could have
Yeah.
become another wife of Henry VIII, the tool. It all revolves about Henry's love life, I guess.
Yes. So who is
So intense.
so Anne of Cleves and drum roll, who is the other?
Christina of Denmark. Who
Yes.
was Christina of Denmark, you may ask? Well, she was the daughter of Juana the First of Castile. Can you practice your Juana a little bit? Juana.
Juana.
Muy bien, Rebecca. Muy bien. Juana the First of Castile and crybaby Philip of Habsburg.
Yeah.
So this is, the success of Juana and Felipe really was that they had 6 children, and these we talked about this. There's other episodes people can go to back to where we talk about these kids because they all become queens and emperors, right?
Yeah.
So Charles V, oh, he already makes an appearance, and Christina of Denmark is the daughter of Juana and Crybaby. So I mean, Isabella of Austria, Christina of Denmark's mother, right, is
There
the
we go.
daughter of Juana and Crybaby.
There
So
we go.
she marries Christian II of Denmark, who also becomes king of Sweden. But he eventually has to abdicate. There's a bunch of problems there. So she has to be raised by Mary of Hungary.
Oh, we know that name, don't we?
We know that name too. She's made appearances too. So she's another one of the children. Basically, we're going around the children of Juana and Philip and seeing their relations to the court of Henry VIII, and they have tons. Mary of Hungary is in close contact with Henry VIII.
Hmm.
And she's the one who authorizes Holbein to paint Christina of Denmark when Henry wants to marry her. And we know even that he was with her for 3 hours. That's what he took to paint her. And that painting is in the National Gallery in London. It's a full picture of her, right?
Full length.
Full length. Beautiful, beautiful picture. So it's a very famous encounter for sure. And the other one's Anne of Cleves because she also is painted by Holbein, and that doesn't end up very well, right?
Right. Yeah. The story, whether it's true or not, there have been some historians in the past who have said that didn't necessarily play out the way that the English narrative says that it did. Everything's up for interpretation, right? Do you look at the German archives? Do you look at the English archives? Is the truth somewhere in between? It's kind of like with anything, isn't it?
I think Henry VIII at 1539, when he negotiated this marriage to marry Anne of Cleves, we all know what Henry VIII kind of looked like in 1539, had some nerve to give opinions about other people's appearances, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, we have all seen what he looks like in the Holbein pictures. He's not in the prime, is he? And he's giving all sorts of opinions about women. I think for some reason there was a disconnection there when they met. You know how they met, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. What is she was it? She was in Rochester. Is that where she was? If I
So
remember.
Anna of Cleves, after Jane Seymour dies, Henry's like, oh, I need another wife because um, he already has Edward, but Edward's only a baby, and who knows if he's going to survive. So
Yeah.
he is trying to get allies to fight him against Charles V. So this is why really this marriage comes by with Anna of Cleves, or maybe her sister. She was another candidate. That's why the two sisters could have been queens of England.
Mhm.
So really, the Anne of Cleves' brother William is a Protestant German leader of the Reformation, and that's why Henry at this point is trying to get allies in that world, right,
Yeah.
against Charles V, obviously. Um, and for all you say that these Spanish people have long ass names, sorry, could I say that in the
Oh,
podcast?
you already did.
Okay, this William guy is William of Jurlich, Cleves, and Verg, or something like that. Also known as William the Rich, kind of someone you want to be friends with if he's
Yeah.
known as William the Rich. So, but he has a conflict with Charles V, obviously. And eventually, William marries Maria of Austria, the daughter of Emperor Ferdinand I, brother of Charles V. So this is how connected, really, the courts of the Habsburg Netherlands, the Tudor court, and Spanish court are really that these people just end up marrying each other, right?
Yeah.
Holbein is sent to paint Anna of Cleves, sends picture back to England. Anna of Cleves is coming with whom? Who is sent also? Susanna Horenboot, the famous
Oh,
Flemish woman, is sent. Why? Because she probably speaks the same language. These were guys from a reform part of Germany that was light in the reform. So, it's also important to know compatible with the English Reformation too, that it's not as radical, right? Um, and when she's coming towards England, there's a very cool account that they are in Calais. They visit Antwerp too. They're in
hmm.
Calais, and Susanna Hornboot is teaching her how to play cards the way they are played in
Yes.
England, right?
Yeah.
So that's a pretty cool thing. So Anna is learning from Susanna court etiquette in England, right?
Hmm.
Then, when they arrive in England, the king is impatient to meet her, just like Henry VII was with Catherine of Aragon, right? And comes and meets her in disguise.
Because that's what he
He did
did.
this. Well, he used to do that. He did that with Catherine of Aragon once when he was disguised as
Is it
what's his name, Robin
Robin
Hood.
Hood? Yeah.
Yes, right. In this case, it was different because Catherine was married already to him, but Anna didn't know as the king, and they had a very awkward encounter. My feeling is his little ego was hurt.
He was butthurt.
Because she didn't laugh at his jokes when he was just a regular old, whatever page boy or jester or whatever he came dressed as. And then he came back as the king, and then she was like, "Oh my God, was that you?" Oh, I'm sorry. And then he was like, reportedly said, "I like her not," after, that encounter. So to me, it seems like probably Anna didn't find him that funny. Henry thought he was quite a very funny person, a very charming person. Maybe he didn't get the reaction he wanted. Because honestly, when the pictures of Anna and her sister were painted, the ambassador said they were very good likenesses. So it's and you look at the picture of Anna of Cleves that is in the Louvre now, and
Oh,
by the
yeah.
way, we have to talk about what happened in the Louvre.
I have to. Can we just talk about all the funny reels and AI stuff that have been made to make
Yes.
fun of it?
So just briefly, because we mentioned the Louvre. That's
Yes.
where the picture of Holbein of Anna of Cleves is currently. Just went through a extensive restoration. Looks beautiful now with those
Yes.
blue backgrounds we talk about a lot. But we're talking about the Louvre too because they've just been the most incredible heist, right? They took,
Yes.
I think it's 12 pieces, jewelry pieces from the crown jewels of France with the biggest gems and the biggest, some of the, it's invaluable what they've taken, really. And yes, there's a lot of reels and memes because it was pretty incredible that they did it in broad daylight.
Yeah.
But the Louvre is one of the biggest architectural compounds I've seen that holds a museum in my life. So it's a very, very big, um, it's a very big complex,
Yeah.
what I mean? But still, it's incredible they were able to do that. Did you read that they dropped one of the crowns so they could?
I didn't.
Yes, they dropped one of them leaving, so they were able to retrieve that. It's damaged, but
Oh.
at least they have one back. I mean, Paris cannot get a break. Do you remember when Notre Dame burned down?
Yes. What's going on over there?
I don't know. What's going on in the world, Rebecca?
I was just going to say they're trying to match
are we going
America.
to talk about that in the podcast later? No. Go back to Parallel Lives.
No, I have to say the one reel that I saw this morning that made me giggle a little bit was it showed an image of like a glass case with a crown in it. And behind it on the wall was Mona Lisa. And she crawls out of the painting and grabs the crown and goes back into the painting. And that one made me laugh.
I've seen a really funny one. Who's a guy who's just like smoking a cigarette, arrives, just opens the window, is like, "Bonjour, I'm here for this. Can I take this?" No one is. I'm claiming it.
Yeah.
And he's just like unfazed and just like taking his time.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny.
We
it's
laugh.
Not funny because
right.
it's
serious.
It's very serious. But there's very famous. Mona Lisa was stolen in, I think it was 1917 or something like that.
Oh.
So there's
I just don't
reality
understand.
always is better than fiction, even.
Yeah. We could just do one whole episode on this, but we're sidetracking, aren't we?
Yes, we're sidetracking. But Anna of Cleves was a witness to this heist because she's there.
Like she's a
like,
person.
"Oh my goodness!"
Seeing her eyes going back and forth.
She's like, "Oh my goodness." Well, Anna is the wife that lived the longest.
Yes, she survived all of his wives.
She survived all of Henry VIII's wives. She dies in 1557. So she's not only in the coronation of Mary the First of England, but she has a state funeral when she dies in the reign of Mary the First. Mary the First and Anna of Cleves were close. There's a close relationship, like we were talking about Catherine Parr last week. Mary the First was smart, knew that she had to get along with the wives of, and listen to this, Anna comes from a Protestant place, and she gets along with Mary the First of England. So again, to all those people who think that I'm always like picking on Anne Boleyn, just Anne Boleyn didn't have that type of character because she didn't get along with Mary. Different situation altogether. But still, you could be a Protestant and a Catholic and get along and live under the same, court, right?
Yeah.
And get along. Like it happened with other people, right? With
I feel
especially
like
Mary Tudor.
did we not discover, and maybe I'm confusing wives, but did we not discover that Anne of Cleves was actually a Catholic?
I think that yes, and that's why I was saying that she comes from a part of Germany and a reform part that is the very gentle on the Reformation. So it's Henry also wanting to get back to the more moderate women.
Mm.
After Anne Boleyn, what does he have? Jane Seymour,
Yep.
who models herself after Catherine of Aragon.
Yes.
Then who is next? Anna of Cleves, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then who's the last one? Catherine Parr, too, even though she's a Protestant, she's a moderate in the sense of the way they carry themselves and the way they defend their faith, right?
Right.
Anne Boleyn was more radical, more outspoken, if you may, or maybe different time. In the case of when he wants to marry Christina of Denmark is a Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
That is in the court of Mary of Hungary, who is the leader of the Counter-Reformation. So, I mean, Francis I married Eleanor of Austria, who was a Catholic. These were also, we have to think beyond religion. Sometimes political alliances were more important. One of the parallels between Anna of Cleves and Christina of Denmark that I found out when I was doing researching about this, first of all, is the fact that Anna of Cleves was considered as one of the brides to be or potential bride for the Duke of Lorraine.
Right.
And the Duke of Lorraine ends up marrying who? Christina of Denmark, who ends up, after being Duchess of Milan, ends up being Duchess of Lorraine and even Regent of Lorraine.
Oh.
So again, women in the circle of the Spanish monarchy, raised by Mary of Hungary, successor of Margaret of Austria, remember,
mm-hmm.
Are always have an education that allows them to take control, like be regents in case they need to, successful regents. This is something we talked about that Catherine of Aragon establishes in England, because then there's someone like Catherine Parr, who's also a very successful regent, right?
Yeah.
And for better or worse, Elizabeth sees this when she's a little girl, and Mary's seen it when she's a grown woman. And then when they become queens, they have those presents. There had been other presidents. I did want to mention, for example, Catherine of Valois in the 15th century was also a very powerful queen consort. So what I'm saying is sometimes these women that come from very powerful dynasties or kingdoms come to a place like England, and they do carry themselves in a way that they are trusted by the king to become regents, right? So in that sense, Christina of Denmark is similar to Catherine Parr because she also becomes a regent and a successful one, right? Or like Catherine of Aragon. Anna of Cleves, on the other hand, what happens to her? Different situation. Because what is she? She's rejected, right?
Yes. Yeah. She never she doesn't serve her purpose the way that Henry had hoped she would.
Yes.
And so
but maybe she was the luckiest too. Because she didn't have to touch him too much.
Well, then, he makes her his sister, which is kind of weird, but also whatever. I'm sure she was fine with
remember, that's the best thing you can be in a Henry VIII.
That's right. She's
Remember
like,
how
your sister?
he gets annoyed with his sister for marrying Henry Cavill, but then he's like, I get it. I would marry Henry Cavill if I could too. He's been my best pal, but it's frowned upon in the 16th century to have a husband if you're a man. So, oh my God, the comments are going to get out of control. Maybe this was
Charles Brandon no longer has his own identity. He is Henry Cavill. I love it.
Yeah. No. Actually, Charles Brandon has his own artist. Have you heard of this?
No.
Yeah, the master of the Brandon portraits is a artist that works for the Brandon family, for Charles Brandon, Flemish artist, paints several pictures that are been grouped, but his identity is unknown. There's a lot of work to do around the artist. Holbein is an example because he's referenced in the sources as who he is, right? But a lot of the times we find these pictures, we know who the sitter is because of the coat of arms, because he looks like, but we don't know the artist. We just know the style. So in case of Charles Brandon, for example, There is a lot of work to do because these pictures of the master of Charles Brandon, especially the one of Charles Brandon, has a blue background. And in that sense, I wanted to talk again about another parallel between Anna of Cleves and Christina of Denmark, is the fact that we in the Holbein pictures, they're both extremely beautiful women, to me at least. So I wanted to talk about Holbein and women too. You know, for all we talk, these were wives of Henry VIII. What was Holbein doing with these ladies? I can imagine like a Jack moment, Titanic. Remember?
Oh, wow.
Remember when he paints her? She's no.
When he draws
Christina
her.
was fully
Yeah.
dressed.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert: Christina was in mourning dress. That full picture that we can go and see in the National Gallery. She is in full mourning because she does marry the first guy she marries is the Duke of Milan when she's only 12. In this case, she's one of those women who was used since her very first puberty for these
Like
marriages.
Margaret Beaufort.
Yeah, exactly. So he's Francesco II's spouse, Duke of Milan, but he dies in 1535. So she marries the Duke of Milan the same year that Anne Boleyn marries Henry VIII.
Okay.
Okay. But he dies in 1535. She's only 13. So she's a widow at the age of 13. That's why in the inventories of Henry VIII, when the picture of her is referenced, she is the Duchess of Milan, because once a woman married, she was known by the title, or dowager in her case, because she was the widow. And it's not until March of 1538 that Holbein is sent. So she's dressed as a widow. That's why. But Henry did like her a lot too. You know what she reportedly said when she found out that Henry VIII wanted to marry her?
I love this quote. I'll let you say it. I've said it before.
Yeah. I wrote it down just to make sure I said it right. She said, if I had two heads, one should be at the King of England's disposal.
He already had that reputation.
And he hadn't even married Catherine Howard yet.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, he
Christina was right.
At that point, everybody knew he set aside his first wife, who was so great to him. He killed his second wife, and his third wife died after childbirth. Like, the track record wasn't great.
Yeah, I think nobody blamed him for, obviously for Jane Seymour's death, because that was a tragedy. I think there had been other kings who had rejected their wives. I'm not going to say that was the first time. Weird, but not, it had happened. But beheading a queen you had just crowned, it doesn't leave you in the best spot in terms of your European allies, especially because think about this: Mary of Hungary, who is the one who is receiving Holbein to paint Christina of Denmark, is Catherine of Aragon's niece.
Right.
And another very important thing that we should never forget is, why are they having relations with Henry if he's done all these horrible things to Catherine of Aragon? Why do you think? Because they're fighting and fighting to protect Mary.
Mm.
Who is the person that sends a picture of Philip as soon as Mary becomes Queen of England? It's Mary of Hungary. Who is the one to write to Erasmus to say that she's very interested in meeting, knowing about the daughters of Thomas More? Is Mary of Hungary. Anna of Cleves goes through Gravelines, and goes through the Netherlands, so she meets Mary of Hungary. And then it's very important to know that Christina of Denmark and Margaret of Parma, who we've also talked about, by the way, in the exhibition Faces for Eternity that closes in a couple of days at the British Museum, featured there. From February to May 1557, Christina of Denmark and Margaret of Austria are in England in the court of Mary Tudor. So why do people keep saying Philip II abandoned Mary when her relatives are there? When Christina of Denmark is there with her, Margaret of Parma, two of the most powerful women in Europe, are in England.
Yeah, why does that get glossed over? Why does nobody talk about that?
Because it's the mindset is Philip is bad. Anything that comes with Philip is bad. While Philip was king of England, everything was bad. Unless you read Alexander Sampson's work and other people's work, but chiefly Alexander Sampson. Professor Alexander Sampson has a very good book on how really European cultures was reactivated in the court of Philip and Mary, and how people like, Antonis More, who paints Christina of Denmark and
Mm.
Margaret of Parma, probably in England, right? Again, as he had painted Mary Tudor in 1554. This is what is happening in the court of Mary Tudor, the fact that there's another revolution in the arts. There's another revolution, a lot of arrival of foreigners, especially now Italians, not Flemish artists, but also Italians. Jacopo da Trezzo. Antonis More is someone who is Flemish, Dutch, but he's trained in Italy, in Italian, in the Italian style. So there's even a new revolution, a more Italian-centered revolution. And these women are part of it because Christina of Denmark is in London while Mary is ruling, and while Mary is already Queen of Spain, too. Think about this.
That's
So
quite extraordinary.
she's Queen of Spain. Did you know that Mary the First of England is the first queen that is proclaimed in America? The first Queen of England proclaimed in America.
I did not.
We still have the proclamation sent to America, to the different vicerey, so the viceroy, the person, the vice king that was representing the king of Spain in each of the places in America, received an announcement that Philip sent to say that, to proclaim Mary as Queen of England.
Oh, that
Yes.
is an interesting little footnote of history that I did not know.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, Catherine of Aragon is the first queen of England we know has relations with America because she receives gifts. But it's only normal when you study the Tudor court from the Spanish perspective, which I continue to do, because I think it's very important to hear. Maybe it's shocking to some people. I'm not going to deny that it sounds shocking sometimes. Go and Google it. Christina of Denmark was in London. Mary wasn't abandoned by Philip. They just had a very different way of organizing their territories, and he had to fight. He was fighting wars in Europe against the French. So,
Yeah.
not saying he was good. I'm just saying that that's a reality. They had a project, they were fighting for it, and her family was supporting her by going to visit her. It's Henry VIII really who breaks with all of this, and the marriage to Anne of Cleves is an attempt to get allies in the continent because he's lost all of his allies. Because obviously, the most powerful man, Charles V, is going to be like, yeah, you guys are not going to be friends with him anymore, okay? Not going to be friends with the King of England. And everyone's like, ugh, okay, because he's Charles V. You don't go against Charles V lightly.
Yes. Well, we've
Yeah.
talked before about how during this time in history, you have England, you have the Holy Roman Empire, and you
Mm-hmm.
have France. And you have
Yes.
those three countries who are just constantly switching sides, fighting against each other or joining up together. And then when Henry VIII breaks with Rome, that just gives France and the emperor all the ammunition that they would need to be like, sorry, buddy, we're not going to be friends anymore.
I'm going to say something that might be very controversial,
Oh,
Rebecca,
oh, geez. Okay.
because this is a podcast about the Tudors, but France and the Spanish monarchy are really fighting. England is a strategic ally, but is not the powerhouse that a lot of people think that the Tudors are. The Tudors become a powerhouse with Elizabeth, really.
That's true. Yeah.
Um, they're emerging. They're certainly an agent. They're there. Henry has a say or two, but as soon as he turns his back on Catherine of Aragon, what happens to him? What are the last 8 years of his reign? But a despair attempt to gain again a presence in Europe without his first wife, or without recognizing again his daughter, who is legitimate.
Yeah.
because that's maybe what we should be talking about, without that, Henry doesn't really have a lot to say in the continent, and that base, again, controversial, that base that he has, that armada that really Elizabeth inherits, and that's why England becomes so prominent in the world. That is created in the first years of his reign, and that is created because Catherine of Aragon is like, we have to emulate the Spanish monarchy. We are in a position. We will go to America, I'm sure. We have to be in a position to fight in Europe. We're an island. We have to be ready for this. And that's why they create more boats in the first 5 years than they were ever built in the history of England. So I'm not saying this is all Catherine of Aragon. I'm saying this is all Catherine of Aragon. Was that clear?
Very, very clear. And
yes.
I think recently too, and correct me if this is wrong, but when Philip married Mary, he also helped with the Navy of England a little bit.
There's so many things. Maybe we should bring Peter back again so he can delight us with because he knows a lot about this, obviously. They reformed the coin because Henry was a disaster with that. So finances are the first thing that are put in order. That's smart. They were doing smart things. Yes, the Navy. Why? Also because Philip needs help. He's the King of England. So when he's fighting in the continent, he's not just fighting as the Prince of Spain or the King of he's made King of Naples to marry Mary, to marry on the same level, because he wasn't a king yet.
That's right.
Until he becomes King of Spain because his dad abdicates on him. But really, when he's fighting as the King of England too. He's fighting for English interests. Calais is lost at the time. That is, Mary Tudor said, if you open my heart, you will find Calais in my heart. I think the problem with Calais is that these things happened, and I think it could have been regained if they would have ruled longer, or not.
Right.
What I'm saying is this fluctuated a lot. They were definitely in the making to become a powerhouse couple, and they were copying everything from Isabel and Fernando, not from Emperor Charles and Isabella of Portugal, from Isabel and Fernando, because they were both ruling monarchs. I know this is deviating from parallel lives, but it's very important because Christina of Denmark lives in the court of Mary, is painted by Antonis More. Mary is trying to have an international court, and women, powerful women, are there to help her. Why is this not talked about? Why is this not in the forefront? Because Elizabeth is seeing all of this. In fact, there's a story about Christina wanting to meet Elizabeth and Mary not being too happy about it. So it's very interesting, and there should be a lot more study of Elizabeth's relationship to these international women that come to the court of her sister.
There is so much that is still left to study when it comes to the Tudors. So many little nuances and pieces of history that are overlooked, and just focusing on the big stories, right?
Yes. A book on Tudor and Habsburg women would be, I'm sure everybody's jaw would be dropping. They would look like Charles V. Because I think a lot of this is not known. I don't think people know that, Margaret of Parma, who was Charles V's natural daughter. So basically, Mary has all her cousins there with her when she's ruling, and nobody knows about this. Has the best artists,
Yeah. She's just Bloody Mary.
She's just Bloody Mary. She's just very, very, very ugly.
Yeah.
And very old and
with a manly voice.
Yes, and she's insane thinking she's pregnant because she's married and she's, having sex with her husband. God forbid, she thinks she's pregnant. Doesn't it sound ridiculous though when you say it out loud sometimes, when you don't apply something like common sense? And then we don't know about the interest. Maybe she did have phantom pregnancy. I don't believe so, but maybe she did. This is something we'll never know.
Yeah.
She was not checked by a gynecologist. But isn't it important to know that these two highly important women were in her court, and other people from Europe, people that were changing policy in Europe, art in Europe, culture in Europe? And even if you want to know more about Elizabeth I, Elizabeth is seeing this. Yet Elizabeth chooses to have a very different court. Why? Because Elizabeth has to follow her own path and she has her own alliances. Her mother had established a more pro-France alliance. She doesn't have the headway with the Habsburgs unless she accepts the marriage proposal from Philip of Spain.
Yeah. Yeah.
She could have. What do you think? Oh, that would have been interesting, wouldn't it?
Oh, there's so many what ifs, right?
Maybe we'll do one parallel lives. Elizabeth married. We should do. Oh, I thought about this the other day. We should run it by people. I'm just going to drop something here today. I thought we could do a spin-off of Parallel Lives.
Okay.
Historical Tinder. We do an unlikely matchup and we talk about what we think it would have been like exactly this example, right?
Yeah.
What if Elizabeth I of England decided to marry Philip II of Spain when Mary I of England died?
What would have happened?
What would have happened? I think she would have dressed a bit differently in her portraits. She would have had better artists, but darker clothes on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's interesting. It's an interesting what if. Yeah, for sure.
It would have, and if they would have had a child, that would have been the most powerful monarch in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm always torn on these what ifs. I like to sometimes fantasize about the what ifs, but then when it comes down to it, it didn't happen. It's not real. So I
know. but you are drawing from what you know from these two characters to, it's a mental exercise of intellectual exercise too, right? Because I think we tend to separate these people too much. I think we tend to separate Philip and Elizabeth as rivals, but they were family while Philip was married to Mary.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm saying is we need to rethink sometimes. They've been put in two different corners, but they were closer than we know. Maybe Elizabeth said no for other reasons. Maybe she did want to marry Philip. Who knows, Nobody knows because she never married anyone. Maybe she was just traumatized and Philip was just another candidate. You know what I mean? It's not that she had any special animosity. The history taught us that they did but that was because of there were two monarchs that had to rule, and Spain and England finally drifted apart and became rivals.
Yes,
right?
Did.
Yeah, I think one of Elizabeth's greatest triumphs in Spain is seen as the Spanish Armada never arrived. So what was her triumph there?
Well,
she hid part of the time. So she was definitely not going to lead an army into battle.
No, she wasn't. Yeah, it all kind of worked out.
She was not the granddaughter of Isabel of Castile, I'm afraid, to my favorite commenter, James. Sorry, James.
If that was actually his name. Oh my gosh. I love talking about these women in history and then finding out all these wonderful little tidbits that that we haven't heard before. It's my favorite part of these episodes.
I would like, just to make it for perfection again, to think about Holbein and the pressure this man had to feel when Henry's like, yeah, go and paint my future bride.
Right. Yes.
And then you have 3 hours to render this master. Have you seen this picture of Christina of Denmark? I can't believe he did that in 3 hours. That is telling about his talent too.
Did he actually paint it in 3 hours or sketch it in 3 hours?
Well, we know he had 3 hours with her.
Okay. All right.
So that's what we know. Holbein did work with sketches. That's true. But that's the information we have. Probably not finished, obviously. Yes. And like I said, there's evidence in other documents that things were translated, like drawn, when they're referring to someone drawing the face is not painting the face. Right? So these artworks were done in stages sometimes. Yeah, a sketch first, then So yes, and we see in some of Holbein's sketches that he puts the colors So yes, he makes little notes on the sketches. So later, when he's going to put the color, he's gonna know. But to render these very, very accurate pictures, at least facial pictures, you kind of have to come close to a person. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's quite amazing. I love sketching faces, but I am no Holbein.
Yeah. Well, I don't think any of us are any Holbein. I was thinking about this the other day because we talked about Clouet too and his sketches, right? I just
Mhm.
think this is really what Alejandra Vergara Sharp's book, What is Quality in Art, talks about, is the level these guys have acquired is out of this world. And I believe the whole success and why we're all obsessed with the Tudors is because of this, is because of the capacity they had to with a pencil and a paper render something that looks to us like someone we could know. And with the documents that we have, we read about those, but when we think about them, what we see in our brain is their pictures, right?
Yeah.
And in that sense, these two women have two of the most beautiful portraits ever rendered for an English monarch. Think about before and after. I mean, maybe for Charles the First of England, when Van Dyck is his portrait painter, I don't think there's any one better than Holbein.
Mm. He is
I
quite
think he
amazing.
is the best artist there was in the Tudor court by far.
Yeah, we're very lucky to have had
I'm
him.
so glad Torrellano is not right here because he would break my nose probably. But Torrellano wasn't there long enough. We also have to think that Holbein just comes at a time that he's needed for a certain thing, and that he's involved in this Six Wives of Henry VIII. So that's why Holbein is so important too, and because portraiture becomes such an important thing in the second half of the 16th century. I think we'll see a lot more of. I would like to see a lot more work on Holbein and his connections to the Spanish monarchy.
Yeah,
So
that would
Christina
be
of
cool.
Denmark for sure should be studied as, yes, the daughter of the King of Denmark and Isabel of Austria, but really she has links to Charles V. So this is why these are all connected.
Yeah.
Charles
Doctor.
V was born in a toilet.
That's right. Well, I think that's the perfect way to end this episode.
Oh, was Charles V born in the toilet again?
I know you guys love these episodes too. Most of you, some of you are haters of our Parallel Lives
Yes,
episodes, but for
yes.
the most part, I think it is a very eye-opening look at history from a different perspective. And
Mhm.
I can't thank you enough, Dr. Emma, for sharing your knowledge with me and with the world.
I know, and if you have any hate for the idea, tell Plutarch, who was the one who originally wrote Parallel Lives. I thought about this the other day because I'm always thinking about parallel lives. I would ask guys, if you are really interested in this, go and read Plutarch too. I think my favorite. I think he has the one of Caesar and Alexander the Great.
Ooh.
Is one of his most famous parallel. I read some of them. There's a lot of them, so they're usually sold in like sets. But it's definitely something that you will see how these episodes relate to that. And Plutarch is one of the most influential classical authors. So if you're gonna hate on Plutarch, it's your own fault.
It's your own fault.
Your own
Well,
fault.
Dr. Emma, thank you again for coming on the show with me today to talk about Anne of Cleves and Anne of Denmark. Nope, I got it wrong
No,
again. Christina of
Christina of
Denmark.
Denmark. Oh, don't worry, because I confuse Christina of Denmark with Christina of Sweden, who is of
Yes.
the time of Anna of Denmark.
Oh my gosh. So
Yes,
many women to keep track of, isn't there?
so many.
Yes. Well, I guess everybody, until next week for the next Parallel Lives. Thanks for joining us.
Have a great day, guys. Bye bye.
Thanks for listening to the latest episode of Dr. Emma and Me. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to rate and review the show. It really helps more people find it. Don't forget to follow or subscribe so you'll know as soon as a new episode drops. And if you'd like to support what we're doing, head over to Patreon and become a patron. You'll get early access, bonus content, and more. Thanks again for being here. See you next time.